Do you feel that probably there's something he's not telling us, or you're reading just what Kenyans are reading, that there could be a sign of another moment of ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi being called again Madimoni, like we saw during the time when he was this close to actually working out something with President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Thank you, Eugene. First, I think I must commence from the standpoint that when it comes to coalition building, it has got its own fundamentals. Every coalition has got a nature or certain pillars that upon which it is founded. There is always the base alloy to any coalition. And I think there are certain things that can easily slip through the fingers of many a people when it comes to the loose meaning of the utility of the word coalition, especially in our political lexicon. First, I think I must appreciate that there are two primary theories that drive political coalition building. The first fundamental is office-oriented coalition building, where the parties to a coalition are driven by the thirst to attain political power or get office. That is the primary objective.
So it's get to power first, then the rest we'll discuss once there.
It will follow. Second, it is policy-oriented or policy-driven kind of coalition, where the fundamental of that kind of coalition of political parties is driven by the policies, the unison or harmony of policies between these two parties, or three, or four, or whatever the number. But in office-oriented, office-driven kind of coalition, it's a question of driving to attain power first. And it also varies whether you look at it through the lenses of a parliamentary system or a presidential system. And here in Kenya, as it is in a few other countries in Africa, we find ourselves mostly in pre-election kinds of coalitions because the raw instinct here is the acquisition of power.
To win.
Yes, winning office and not policy. And just before I take a knife and slice through the bread of thought, as has been served to us by my good friend here, the SG of ANC, I would say that if we were to analyze the political harmony or camaraderie between ANC and UDA and Ford Kenya, would we find ourselves appreciating that these three parties have been brought together by the unison or the harmony on the platform of policy? I am sure that I cannot respond to that question in the affirmative. So, of course, the primary quest here is seeking office. The sentiments by the chairman of UDA, I hope I'm right, Mr. Mudhama, former senator from Machakos, that they are just coming together and standing together, dwelling together presently as friends. I think while he may be peripherally right, and SG going by also his responses here, and he has spoken well, I think they are trying to temper their sentiments with the necessity of caution. Of course, these 23rd of January meeting, or the NDC of ANC, has stirred up political excitement in this country. Well, some have thrown their hands in the air, dismissed that kind of unity or coalition building, because he has said they are still building it.
Building the coalition,
But the other thing is that they are also responding to some questions that have been raised by their political nemesis.
Correct.
And they also want not to be too deliberate to their opponents, such that they appear to expose their underbellies. Because exposure of the underbelly in politics is one huge mistake that any politician or political party will want to avoid. So I think I may cautiously agree with SG and Mr. Mudhama that they are just friends or partners. But remember that they are partners with a clear intent. Yes, he has said to work together. yes, with the intent not to work with Azimio, because Honorable His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi said on 23rd that Azimio is not an option.
Yeah.
And to that extent, I would say that they are friends, political friends, with a deliberate intent to cobble up a political coalition, of course, within the meaning of the Political Parties Amendment Act 2021.
Right, SG, I mean, is it walking or trading with caution not to expose the underbelly of what is actually cooking within this friendship? You know, some people call it, now you've been friend-zoned. And you know when you've been friend-zoned with someone you've been chasing around, you know the feeling. I'm sure, SG, you understand what I'm talking about.
I get you.
I mean, what is this, you know, magnetic effect between the ANC and the UDA, which many people have been saying, these are people who did not see eye to eye in terms of policy, because Java says, you know, there are usually two areas of coalition building. It's either we are together because our policies align, or we are together because we want to take office, and then the rest we will be able to work on later on. Kindly clarify to Kenyans, because indeed, even if we talk about the policies and the economy, your party leader was not seeing it in the same way the UDA leader sees his conversation around the economy. What happened?
My friend here has spoken very well indeed. And he says that our NDC stirred up political excitement.
Yes.
He's just shy to say that it was an earthquake. But again, coming to where we are, what is our meeting point as political parties, that is ANC and UDA? Ideology. If you look at our political statements and how we've been campaigning, we've been very, very consistent that we want to resuscitate our economy. We want to rebuild our economy. And that's our slogan. Uchumi bora, pesa mfukoni. If you look at what UDA has been saying, they have been talking about bottom-up approach. And you see now, it's only that the language was different. Okay?
SG.
The language was different.
The language was different.
And when we met on the table, we actually realized we meant the same thing. We meant uchumi bora, that is bottom up, kazi ni kazi, pesa mfukoni.
But 2 weeks ago, you couldn't say what you're saying. 2 weeks before this earthquake,
Eugene,
you couldn't say this.
They say politics is the art of impossibilities. And in politics, no permanent friends or enemies. And while my friend tries to look at two approaches of coalition building, he talks of office-driven, policy-driven. I think you should also have brought in the idea of ideology. Ideology. We sat down and we realized we are fighting, we are looking for the same thing. We want to rebuild this economy. We want to liberate our nation. There are people that have actually taken this country captive. And we realize that our similarities are more than our differences. And so that is why the earthquake happened.
Okay.
And I don't see anything strange in that.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, up until this moment, I didn't know that a guest in Jerusalem, by the sentiment of my good friend SG here, when he says that the coalescing factor between the three political parties here is ideology.
Oh yes, ideology.
Well, I think that the three parties intend to form an ideology, which yet does not exist.
So they intend.
Because
it doesn't mean that that's what pulled them together.
Now let us examine what ideology is. For instance, and he's made a citation here about pesa mkononi,
Uchumi bora, pesa mfukoni.
Uchumi bora, pesa mfukoni.
But now it has changed. It is kazi ni kazi, pesa mfukoni.
But now let's ask ourselves, pesa mfukoni, is that an ideology? It is not an ideology.
Yes.
No, it is not. It is not an ideology.
It is not an ideology.
It is not an ideology. I agree with you.
On well,
Yes.
one more.
Secondly, the bottom-up approach, when you talk about what UDA stands for,
Yeah.
bottom-up approach is not an ideology.
SG, is that an ideology?
Of course it is not.
All right. We want to see the meeting point.
And if at all, yes, and if we're talking about the three political parties, then what is the ideology that is driving Ford Kenya?
Yeah.
Now, fact one is that there is no ideology that is bringing together UDA, ANC, and Ford Kenya. Because if such ideology would exist, I would have laid my fingers on them up to this moment.
So there's none.
And even with due respect to my good brother here, SG, I can ask this question here, seated in this couch tonight.
Yeah.
What is this UDA ideology and ANC ideology and Ford Kenya ideology whose imperatives have led to this coalition or intended coalition?
SG is here. It's good to hear from the horse's mouth.
So,
SG, what is it?
So the ideologies do not exist yet. The bottom-up mantra is an economic inclined model. Now, for ANC, it is a tagline. A tagline is not an ideology.
My friend, you see, I agree with you. All these are taglines, or whatever we're doing in public rallies, you could call them, political statements.
Yeah.
But we stand for a liberal economy, okay? And that is our meeting point, that we want everybody to share in the sweetness of our independence. Because our forefathers fought so hard, they lost their lives, they gave up, they sacrificed everything they had to achieve political independence. And we have sat as political players and political parties, and we have asked ourselves, what is our struggle? Because the struggle of our grandfathers, of our forefathers, is no longer our struggle.
Yeah.
Because we have the nation now as indigenous Africans. We managed to chase away the white man. So when we are fighting for political liberation, what is our struggle as a generation? Economic liberation. Economic liberal economy, whereby everybody can tap in and get something into their pockets. And that's Pesa Mfukoni, coming from our economic ideology. And that is where we are meeting. Are you together? We don't want a nation, as JM Kariuki said, of 10 million billionaires and 10 million beggars. We want an economy where everybody feels part and parcel of the economic process, of the agricultural process, of the manufacturing process. If you're working, you are paid, you are paid commensurate to your input. And I put it here last time when I was here, that we want to see our young people and our government being paid the bare minimum wage. We don't want to see Chinese contractors coming here and going back with all the billions, shipping all the billions overseas. They can go with several of them and live a good share here. And that is all we're talking about.
So the ideology here, which Javas says does not exist, but could be in the offing.
I have just given you ideology. That is our meeting point.
Does that make sense to you, Javas?
I mean, it does make sense to anybody.
When he speaks to issues of economic liberation, now that is an inclination of a political or socio-economic ideological nature. To that extent,
there's an ideology there.
That is ideological.
We seem to be agreeing today.
But initially, everything to do with Pesa Mfukoni is not an ideology. Now, as he has spoken and stirred up imagination, of course, reminded me the words of Samuel Smith, the poet, writing eons ago, saying that my country it is of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, land where our fathers died, lands where pilgrims pride. He speaks about what our founding fathers fought for, our political liberation. And as we look at the dynamics of coalition building, the kind of mental coalition building that our forefathers had when they had the struggle to chase away the Mbeberu and then set us in motion to where we are today. I think we do not have a shortage of examples on the kind of nature of and dynamics of coalition building, whether it's on this continent or beyond. Continental Europe, of course, has demonstrated for decades upon decades the kind of coalitions that work and those that don't work. Here in Africa, of course, we've got countries such as Mauritius that since its founding has never had a government in place without coalition building. And Mauritius serves a very fundamental example on the necessity of proper or priorities of coalition building with a view of creating a nationalistic view or harmony or face for purposes of the progressive socioeconomic trend or direction of a country.
Yeah.
Down here in South Africa, while its electoral system is not exactly like ours, you'd realize that, for example, while at the national level, we have not seen any effort at coalition building, when you go to the provincial level, look at provinces such as KwaZulu-Natal, Cape Town, the Western Cape Town Metropolitan Council, you realize that in these provinces, it is coalitions, especially post-election coalitions, that help to govern those municipalities. Here in Kenya, the very basic example, working example, and the intricacies and dynamics of coalition building, I think we cannot fail to point our finger at 2002 when NAC came into power.
Yeah.
And we saw a pre-election kind of coalition of the opposition parties and figures coming together with the idea or interest of grabbing power.
Yeah.
But what happened? Do you realize that Kenya serves as one of the best examples where the challenges of coalition building forms a huge study in the world of politics? Now, for the 5 years from 2003 to 2007, Kenya was literally ungovernable. Why? Because the pact, the pre-election pact, the memorandum of understanding was not honored by the president once he acquired power. Why did that happen? Even today, one thing that even my relative here should fear the most, as they cobble up a coalition with UDA and Ford Kenya and any other party that will join them later along the path, is that the uniqueness of our constitution makes it easy to renege on a pre-election pact. First, the authority of the president. Remember that authority in Article 129 of the Constitution is derived from the people. The moment a president is sworn in and has acquired power, he is guided by the Constitution, not a pre-election pact. Now, for him or her to honor a pre-election pact, one, it's a question of a gentleman's agreement, peer regard, and just being a good boy or a good girl. Because our Constitution as it is does not factor in or compel one to appreciate a pre-election pact, because the Constitution recognizes the authority of the president and gives him power to act as such.
Right.
So, when we look at the dynamics and the challenges of coalition building in Kenya, we realize that we have got actually a very long way to go, because while political parties may mean well to come together with the intent of economic liberation, with the intent of getting power and leading a nation, the moment power is acquired, things change because of the legal framework that is in place. And the mother of the legal framework, the motherboard here, is the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
And would like SG, make it clear to Kenyans watching us tonight, when Chair Mudhama says there is no agreement, there is no memorandum of understanding that has been signed between UDA. In fact, he seems to be assuring the rather or probable confused UDA party loyalists who probably are reading mixed signals on whether Ruto, the deputy president, will cede his ambition to give Mudavadi, your party leader. He's trying to assure their supporters that chama iko imara, sisi tuko na presidential candidate wetu, you wale wako na wao. You know, you want to tell me that this union was just formed out of tuongee tu tusikilizane. There is no agreement signed
Well,
somewhere?
before I come to that,
Yes.
my colleague here has raised very critical issues that
Yeah.
I would want to comment on.
Yeah.
First and foremost, it is true that coalition building has elements of trust.
Yes.
You don't want to get into partnership with people that cannot be trusted or that cannot keep their word.
Yeah.
And so, because as I said, it's not something that is anchored in the Constitution. But I also doubt if there is any nation that has a constitution that specifically provides for a coalition. For example, in our situation here, we have now the Political Parties Act. And it is now talking about a coalition party. Okay? And this is probably part of trying to cure some of the issues he has raised, that you could enter into a pre-election agreement.
Yes.
But once someone ascends to power, he's now governed by a whole different legal framework. That is the Constitution. And they say that power changes people. So I think the coming in of the Political Parties Act is a very good step towards coalition building in Kenya. Because if you look at our history, I think our nation has, for the longest, since independence, been ruled or governed through coalitions. Because there was the KANU-KADU before independence. After that, of course, we saw what he was describing, the 2007, the NAC arrangement, and of course the URP, TNA, then Jubilee, and then now we're here. So I think I would say we are making very good progress with the Act, and we hope that we can also get leaders that can be trusted. And when Muthama speaks the way he spoke today, I mean, I don't even know why you're finding it a big deal, because he's just explaining the stage at which we are as potential coalition partners. That you have to prepare, you have to share information, and that is when you bond, you get to know each other, you get to appreciate how you're going to work together. You want to bond from the party leadership to the wananchi all the way through the ranks, so that people feel comfortable and also get to socialize in preparedness of working together. So I think you're asking whether there isn't anything that probably has been put down.
Because Muthama says there's none.
Of course, there are things that I'm not allowed to speak about on national television, but I can tell you that the basic framework has been there. The basic framework has been laid down. So now it's a matter of following the due process and making sure that we have something concrete that can be registered with the office of the registrar of political parties. So I think we just need to be a little bit more patient. We are within IBC guidelines and timelines, and there is no need for panic.
So what you're confirming to Kenyans is that what Senator Muthama was saying is true. There is no any form of agreement.
Senator Muthama has just made it clear that we're in the process. In other words, he said, be patient with us. We're in the process of coalition building.
So anything could happen hapo katikati?
I think our principals are quite serious about making this happen. We are very committed to making sure we form the next government. We are not leaving anything to chance. And if you listened to His Excellency, Musalia Mudavadi, during the earthquake, he put it very clear, Azimio is not an option. It is not his individual decision. It is a decision of the party hierarchy, the delegates, the members, the supporters. They have made it very clear that that is not an option for us. And so we are very committed to make sure that within Kenya Kwanza, we have something that will further our ideology of economic liberation and making sure that everybody enjoys the fruits of this wonderful nation called Kenya.
I want to bring in Jarvis, but before I move away from the mandate given by your party leader to actually work in the process of this coalition building with UDA and Ford Kenya, you say that it was not an individual decision for your party leader. It involved even the elected party leaders, officials, and of course the delegates. But people reading in between the lines, especially with the events that have been happening, these defections, they create some aftershocks from this particular earthquake that now seems to be turning back at the party. I would like you to explain to us what you are reading yourselves, because if I'm not wrong, 7 out of 9, if I'm not wrong, of those who had been elected under the ANC ticket have since defected to the Azimio la Umoja. How does that make you feel?
First and foremost, we don't have 9 elected members. We actually have 17 elected members, including 2 senators.
Yeah.
And a good number of MCAs, close to 94 elected MCAs.
Yeah.
This is a season of political fever.
Yeah.
So when you see people moving from here or there, I mean, why are you not asking the defection, or you're not focusing on the defections in Jubilee? Jubilee has been the biggest casualty of defections.
Yeah.
Actually, it has been left as a shell. Even the deputy party leader has formed a party. Close to 80% of members of parliament have joined UDA.
Yeah.
Same thing with the ODM. So there is nothing unique about it.
Nothing
It is
unique
the
about it.
season.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
It is expected. If it were not like that, then something would be very abnormal. You know?
Right. Javas, I mean, you talked about the pillars of coalition building and the key things that probably people should be looking at. And in our situation, the ordinary Kenyan seems to be left in the cold from the perspective of, are these people meaning what they're saying as they form these unions? Most Kenyans read it as, you know, we need to put up a strong team to beat that team, as opposed to actually, you know, that's what Kenyans have been left to look at and marvel at. You know, who seems to be having the best striker? Even now, those who haven't decided yet. Right now, people are speculating, you know, which side will they go to? Who will be the person who will woo them to their side? Are we getting it wrong? Let's look at the role of the Mwananchi in this whole process.
As I answer that, I think I'll want to get back to the initial comments by SG that no constitution exists in the world that guides coalition building.
Yeah.
Well, I think there are too many examples that we can cite about constitutions that guide how governments can work, and upon collapse by the failure of coalitions, then a new government can be formed by another coalition that can be cobbled up. And Israel, for example, is a good example. That after elections, how many governments collapse before the next election? So, and that is provided for in the constitution that guides how the governance of the country through coalitions and through a parliamentary system, such as Israel, works. And that's why I said that coalition building varies from, you know, is very different within a parliamentary system and a presidential system such as ours. Now, onto the question of the role of Mwananchi in this coalition building affair. First, let us settle this matter, that when it comes to pre-election coalitions, the driving force here is acquisition of power. Hence, the office-oriented coalition. Now, when it comes to that, you realize that, and my brother here has spoken about the sanction, the authorization of the delegates and elected members of a party leader on what kind of coalitions to form. Let us agree, and it's a matter of fact, scientifically proven and within political science as well, that especially here in Africa, parties are founded by individuals, driven by individuals. And the founder syndrome is that which leads the party to have, especially its bedrock in a certain region, and that the direction of that party leader becomes the direction of the party. Which means that the followers become only tails of a dog being wagged by the party leader. And when it comes to coalition building in pre-election situations, the ordinary citizen is a mere follower, is a disciple, does not have a critical role to play. Well, for example, even just leading to the 23rd of January, when ANC had its delegates conference, you realize that the delegates met. Yes, delegates are elected from among the people who are members of the party. But we did not have ordinary citizens conversing, instructing the delegates than the delegates having to guide the party leader.
Yeah.
So generally, while it can be argued for purposes of being politically correct that the people were involved in conventions machinani,
Yeah.
practically and certainly speaking, is that generally, like here in Kenya, ordinary Kenyans are left out of negotiations within coalition-making processes and pacts. That is why it is presently the party leaders of ANC, UDA, and Ford Kenya who know the fundamentals of the agreement, which, of course, he has stated that
He is not
remains
able to.
unscripted.
Yeah.
But of course, we know that the backbone could be existing somewhere of that kind of agreement.
Yeah.
But ordinary party members are oblivious of the fundamentals of the discussions and the agreement that the three party leaders had. If you're to ask any ordinary party member of ANC in Shinyalu or in Nairobi or in Mombasa, do they know the fundamentals of that agreement? They do not know. So if at all the ordinary people were involved in deliberations of coalition building, would the ordinary citizens fail to know? They would know. So the fact here is that the participation of ordinary citizens in coalition building here and elsewhere remains a huge challenge. Because the interests of political leaders largely varies from the interests of ordinary citizens.
Right.
And that is why when you engage in the thinking of John Locke or J.J. Rousseau
Yeah.
on the social contract that exists between the elected leaders and the electors, the elected leaders, once they get into office, oftentimes forget the letter and spirit of the social contract, and that is why they do other things contrary to that which they promised during the campaign. Hence, the people, losing their temper, throw them out in the next election cycle.
Right. And this is very interesting, SG, if you could be able to just speak to this before we take our break here. There have been some quarters, because we've had our correspondents in some parts of the country who have given their reactions to the earthquake itself and the union. There seems to be some level of confusion, which I'd like you to probably clarify. Those who are ardent supporters of your party leader are saying they are going with him to the ballot. The supporters of UDA also say that they know that their presidential candidate is Deputy President William Ruto. And the other day, unless if he was misquoted, you'll also clarify, the NC party leader says it is not automatic that the flag bearer for the Kenya Kwanza alliance is Deputy President William Ruto. I mean, like we said, the ordinary Mwananchi, I mean, how do we clarify to them these things without spilling the beans?
I find that my friend here is actually articulating issues very, very well.
Yeah.
And I'm always tempted to comment after he submits.
Yes.
When we talk about involving the ordinary Wananchi
Yeah.
and their place in this whole management of party affairs,
Yeah.
because that's how I would want to look at it.
Yeah.
I would want to say that it is true that we have challenges whereby most of our parties, especially in Africa and in Kenya,
Yeah.
have been, individual or party leader based kind
Yeah.
of, whereby you find people are coming together because of some individual,
Yeah.
not because the party has proper ideology or proper way of operating. And that's why you find that after every election cycle, we are having a new political party.
Yeah.
I would want to say that our party, the Amani National Congress Party, is among the very few parties in Kenya, and probably in Africa, that is very, very keen on building for the future. We want to create a movement like the Chama cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania, or even the ANC in South Africa. But whatever my colleague was trying to put across, it's true that you find there are challenges here and there. But I can tell you, did we involve our ordinary Wananchis? Of course we did. there is what we call in Swahili listening to the ground, ama kusikiza ground. We moved around and we asked our people, and they said, fanya na hasla. You know, that is participation. If we were in government, we would call it public participation. You know?
I mean,
no, there is no science in some of these things when it comes down to
this is what the deputy president actually literally says. Mnataka afanye na hasla. Mnataka afanye na
I am
kitendawili.
telling you, the ground said fanya na hasla. And for that, that was participation enough for the ordinary one. So now, coming to the issue of who will be what.
Yes.
I mean, I have just told you, this is a process. It is not an event. Okay? And you people in the media, you really want to preempt.
No, you know what? We just want to hear from the horse's mouth. We do not want to preempt. That's why I'm asking you.
Eugene, I can tell you, people, the process is ongoing. This is work in progress. Let us wait. We are going to unveil our lineup, and we are flexible. It could be MM who will be the flag bearer. It could be Ruto who will be the flag bearer. But I can tell you, what is driving us, or our driving force, is our common ideology. And that one is bigger than any position to us. And we are flexible. It is an issue of give and take. It's not an issue of hardlining. We will sit down and see who is stronger where, who can be more appealing to Kenyans, to make sure that before anything, we first get into government, as he said. So it's a mixture of reasons of why we are coming together. As much as there is an issue of this ideology, policy, and office driven, whatever. Are you getting me? And so I think let people wait, let people not be anxious. And I'm sure that in due time, when I come here probably next time, I'll have the lineup with me. Yes.
But as we leave tonight, are you confirming what your party leader said, that it is indeed true that Deputy President William Ruto is not the automatic flag bearer of Kenya?
Of course, he's not the automatic flag bearer. Because this is work in progress, Eugene. I've just said it. Yes, Mudamba just said it. That as of now, it is a process that actually we've just nominated our technical teams. We've just forwarded names, or so that each party will be having 3 or so representatives. In the Kenya Kwanza technical team, where I'll be sitting as well. So we are getting ready for very tough negotiations. You bargain, you scientifically look at who can do what, who cannot do what, and then you announce the lineup to the people. And of course, you keep listening to the ground.
You keep listening to the ground.
Yes.
SG, before we go for the break, I mean, it's important you also clarify this. How comfortable is the ANC in this 2 weeks old union? I know, bro, we are being so unfair. People have just started the union and mnauliza maswali mingi about how they are doing. But listen, ideologically speaking, we have had your party leader on the campaign trail several times before this particular decision to say, from what you say, listen to the ground. Today, when the deputy president is speaking to the ground, there are certain things that he says that are somehow very difficult for your party leader to probably agree with, because the deputy president says, tumejenga reli, tumefanya 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then your party leader comes on set and he says, watu hawakuli reli. Even if this government has delivered rail and infrastructure, the Kenyans do not really eat this particular infrastructure that probably we seem to be counting as milestones. I want you to tell us probably today, how easy or how difficult is it for your party leader to actually address these things while speaking in the same rally with Deputy President William Ruto? Because he even said the government of the day has really messed up this particular country. The government which the Deputy President sits in up to date.
Eugene, I just told you earlier in this conversation that we have more meeting points than those that would make us part ways. And that should explain everything. That we want to look at what is it that would bring us more together. And for the last 2 or so weeks, probably 3, because before we did the earthquake, we were still doing our background, sort of arrangements. We have found the DP and his team to be wonderful people. And we have also understood their plight in this government. Their position has been taken over by the handshake partner, ODM. So these are people that are actually in government and yet out of government. And we have come to understand them. We've come to understand what they stand for, what they would have achieved if they continued with the camaraderie that was there before, and what they can do if we work together.
Yeah.
And for me, that summarizes all of it.
All of it.
Yes.
Javas, take us to the break with your thoughts on this. Do you see a situation where they are now saying, oh, so sorry, we used to hit you so hard on the campaign trail, we didn't know what you are going through? Or are you seeing this as genuine, or it's just a convenience issue?
Well, at the risk of sounding like an apologist for Kenya Kwanza alliance, temporary as it is, I think I do not have a problem with ANC working with UDA and Ford Kenya, because I read somewhere in Article 36 of the Constitution that the Bill of Rights provides and safeguards the freedom of association, belief, and opinion. And everyone has got a right to change that opinion.
Anytime.
Anytime, because it's protected by the Constitution. I read somewhere, Eugene, Article 38 of the Constitution, that we have got the freedom, and everyone has got the freedom in this country, to campaign for any political cause, join and form any political party, or take any political direction. And so I think those chastising Musalia Mudavadi for joining and working together with William Ruto, I think they have got their own inherent fears, and they are driven by their own survival instincts. There is no problem. I think with anyone working with anyone whatsoever.
Correct.
Because even as I read somewhere, Article 27 of the Constitution, Sub-Article 4, that one must not be discriminated on any grounds, including association, opinion, whatever. And so to that extent, as a lawyer, I would say that it is proper for us to have the liberties in this land, to have anyone associate, unite, disassociate with whomever they want or they don't want, because that freedom, that right is ours as a people.
And change opinion at any point.
At any point. Okay, so that was to take us to the break. We take this particular short break right about now. Remember, we are live, of course, across our digital platforms. You can also watch us across the 47 counties on Lookup TV. And let me read Alex Mayore says, ask SG Gikuru what happens if UDA ANC, that is Kenya Kwanza, fails to form government. Will that coalition still stand beyond August? Will they keep working together? I'm sure SG is just sipping some water, and he'll be coming back from the break to give us an answer to that particular question. Do you have any other questions on the items and the statements you're hearing on the show tonight? Tweet them. The hashtag is TheBottomLineKE. We'll be back in just a bit. Stay with us.
The future of money is simple, like unlocking possibilities with a smile. And having the world in the palm of your hand. It's the ability to touch many lives at the same time and turn your dreams into reality. It's forgetting and still remembering. Simple is having everything that you love in one place. From the ticket to your next meal, to your ticket to the next holiday. It's an easy way to ask for a boost when you're low. And keeping track of everything on the go. The future of money is simple, and it's here. Download the new M-Pesa app today.
Want to grow your business? Broadcast your sermon, share birthday wishes, make funeral announcements, produce adverts and documentaries? Then book and advertise with us today by calling us on +254 700 893 542
700-893-542
or email us on sales@luke-app.tv.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Maru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly 1-year installments plan.
Please make those payments and take dinner out the freezer. Enjoy your day off.
Hey.
How was your day?
Great.
Did you pay the bills?
Abby did it.
And the plumber?
Abby did it.
Send money to your mom?
Abby did it.
Who's Abby?
Bank on WhatsApp with Abby, your 24/7 digital personal banker. Another digital innovation that gets things done. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Did you take dinner out the freezer?
Like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Lookup TV movement now. Now.
Is what you mean? We're not with you.
Thank you so much for staying with us right here on the Bottom Line KE. Of course, when we go for the breaks, we are usually also trying to understand a few things here and there. Of course, thank you for being a part of the program. I have Javas Bigambo, and of course, the ANC Secretary General is here with us. And we are reading also your thoughts. I have at Eston Ekwa, that is Responder Inc. And he actually says that actually ordinary citizens are never involved in any coalition building in the world. It is simply not practical. Javas, you agree? It's not practical. This is what he says.
I wouldn't want to dismiss it that it's not practical.
Yeah.
I would say that when a party is ideologically driven and inclined, even the party leader or the party technical team, by the time they are going to cobble up a coalition or thinking about a coalition with any other political party, they are ideologically in sync with the ordinary mwananchi. You get? When it's ideologically driven. In the absence of ideology, it is the drive of the appetite for survival, as Plato would have called it, that drives the party or the party leadership to go into a particular coalition. And that is why the ordinary mwananchi is not involved, especially in Africa, especially in pre-election kind of coalitions. It is the political survival, the thirst and pursuit of political power by the leadership of these political parties that drives them into coalitions. Just before we went into a break, and this question I'm hijacking because it was not mine, when somebody asked that, would the ANC UDA for Kenya Union stick after the election if at all they do not get the power that they are seeking? While, of course, I am no mouthpiece for that alliance, I speak not for them, the SG is there, and he will speak for them. I would say that if, as it is right now, it is a pre-election coalition, the primary interest is attainment of power. The moment that power is not attained, and in the absence of ideology or ideological orientation, that alliance will not hold.
It will not hold. Is it true, SG? I mean, he says categorically he's not going to speak for the alliance, but what do you say?
Well, I'm also not a spokesperson for the alliance, but I speak for the ANC.
Yes.
And I can tell you that as a party, we are very committed to working within the framework of Kenya Kwanza, to making sure that we actually do our part of the bargain, we strengthen the coalition, and I don't foresee a situation whereby we will disintegrate because we will not form government because we are going to form government anyway. So I think the issue should be, are we going to stick within government?
When you form government.
When we form government.
All right. What are your fears in this whole coalition building process? What are your fears as INC?
Well, I had not thought of any fears yet, but I think Wakili here quoted several articles of the Constitution. Particularly, I was keen on Article 36 on freedom of association. And if you've been listening to my party leader, even on 23rd, he's been very, very clear that you don't choose friends for us. Actually, 36, 2 talks about a person shall not be compelled to join an association of any kind.
Yeah.
So probably the fear that I would see here is that we have a government in place that is very keen to force people to think in a certain direction or to join a certain association, which is illegal, unconstitutional, immoral, okay? And just simply uncivilized. Because it's an article in the Constitution providing for freedom of association. But we've seen that the people are trying to run a narrative, you know, and I think that could be a fear that probably you see, as you said earlier, you see our members of parliament being compromised. They're not leaving because they think the alliance will not work. They're not leaving because they think we're not going to win. No, they're being influenced. They're being bought. Money is changing hands. So probably that is one of the fears that most of us would be having. But again, as he put it, that when people are ideologically grounded, they'll have every reason to stick. I think we don't have any fear of losing. We are very confident.
And of association with the deputy president? I mean, in terms of his party, as you go to these negotiations, I mean, what are you putting up as red flags? I know probably some of these things you'll not tell me, but I'm just trying.
I'm not read between the lines what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Because we had even talked of Madimoni the other time.
Yes. Is that a fear for you this time?
No, it's not. You know, sometimes we want to define people through what we've heard from third parties and their enemies. I think it's wise, it's advisable that you always get to appreciate people and form an opinion by interacting with them. And I'm saying this because the interaction we've had with UDA, and specifically with the deputy president, changes some of these things we see in the media. This is a gentleman who is very cordial, who treats people with a lot of respect. He's a very humble man. You know, it's not the route that the media is trying to paint or the government is trying to paint, calling him a thief and all that. No. We don't have any fear of working with him. If anything, I think he's a man who would be very keen to prove people otherwise. And so he's a man who will keep his word. And we will also keep our word. Yes.
Mandago, a leader in this country, said siasa usiweke kwa roho. And today, Bwana Javas, I think it's important also for us to speak to Kenyans on the same, because we are now seeing a lot of changing of, we could call it goalposts, but we could also see a change of tune, especially how politicians are now talking about the others. And there have been a lot of receipts being pulled now. You know, this is actually to remind you that William Ruto said this about Musalia Mudavadi, or this is actually to remind you this is what Musalia Mudavadi said about William Ruto. As a political scientist or someone who's been following politics for a long time, we are entering that season, especially during this coalition building process and the dynamics of it in terms of wooing this and pushing this on this other side. What should we expect moving forward? Because even as he says this, there are still talks ongoing. Anything, it could go either way, but at least he's saying they're not foreseeing a stallation or a stalling process in the whole coalition building process. I mean, what could we read here?
As a lawyer, as a political sociologist and communications person as well, I'll give you a cocktail of answers to the questions that you've asked. There is so much to anticipate in the next couple of months, going from and by the happenings on the political scene. Yes, we are going to see people getting stressed up so much, pent up energy being released, fear of losing, anxiety of winning, etc. Coalitions forming, gaining other members, losing other members.
Yeah.
And all these things are going to affect people differently.
Yeah.
And as you said a moment ago, and I think there was some great wisdom in his sentiment that people should not have all these hangover of their membership or existence within certain political formations. Yeah. Because politicians here in Africa, here in Kenya, we know very well that one, because of the lack of ideology, and they're not ideologically driven, they keep on changing positions like the shadow by the movement of the sun of politics. And because of that, their interests vary.
Yeah.
It is the one-time American Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, who said, and I quote, that America does not have permanent friends, it has got permanent interests.
Yeah.
And so it is even with politics. Politicians and political parties are only driven and sustained by permanent interests.
Yeah.
Those interests are actually not permanent. They keep on shifting.
Yeah.
The only permanent thing here is the desire and the pursuit of political office and acquisition of that office and execution of mandate upon acquisition of that office or attainment of that office. And so here, we are going to see, for example, challenges arising prior to the nomination period, after the nominations, because the plate tectonics of our political movements are going to create new shifts, and battle formations are going to create new changes. And because of that, I can assure you that if I were to sit here with my brother here in May this year, the kind of conversations we'll be having will have shifted fundamentally the position that he holds today, not as a member of ANC and as SG of ANC, but by the kind of interests that will be driving ANC and the kind of alliance ANC will have formalized.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll keep that on the records, and in May I'll think of a Monday.
Kindly, mark your diary.
You've also promised you'll give me a lineup.
Mark your diary.
Let me read one more comment right here from Namsha. Says the government doesn't think about the youth anymore. This is what he says. Victor Chalo says very tough negotiations coming, says Musalia's brigade. What negotiation when Musalia couldn't negotiate with Kalonzo? Atawezana Naruto kweli? Your thoughts?
I mean, those are viewers who probably have not been listening to us. So if they were listening, they should have known where we are, the stage at which we are in this process.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you earlier mentioned the issue of the leaders who are moving allegiance and are moving from ANC. You've said money is exchanging pockets. I want you to confirm that. That's what you said, that they're being bought off. And the same allegations were also made that your party leader was also bought off. I mean, what would you say for that?
I based my argument on the article he had quoted, Article 36 on freedom of association.
Yeah.
And my party leader has been very categorical.
Yeah.
You don't force us. You don't choose for us friends, actually, if I may quote him. But you see, it's not everybody who is as disciplined, who is as firm, who is as focused as my party leader. Me and you could have some discipline. But the people who are just weak, at the temptation of a few shillings, they will behave like Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ. So I think I wouldn't want us to focus more on those people because I've told you, it's not unique to ANC. If there's a party that has really suffered defections, it is Jubilee. And I told you earlier, they have lost their deputy party leader, who is the deputy president. They have lost close to 80% of the members of parliament and the Senate and even county assemblies. So what is this big deal that you lost just a few, 3 or so members of parliament? Really, surely?
On this same show, someone said, and that was Mutula Kilonzo Jr., he said that by the end of the day, all Jubilee party affiliates will have all ended up in UDA. And he was insinuating the fact that there could be some strings which were being pulled in favor of the deputy president with all this drama that was happening around him in order to actually make him even more popular. But far from it, the question probably I would like to ask is, as you sit in the negotiating table and even try to seek new friends, who probably are you actually eyeing as we speak right now, looking at the One Kenya Alliance that you actually made some people just walk out and move away. Plus, of course, those who are probably undecided as we speak. What's the formula that you feel is going to give you that 70+1 win that you're now talking about?
Very well, a very good question. And before I come to that, you asked about what is the motivation of these people who are shifting political parties and allegiances and all that. Yeah. And of course, I told you there is that influence, you know, but also you find that most of these politicians will have a few issues here and there to do with probably KRA returns, EACC, you know, those kind of things. So you find that there is a lot of coercion coming, a lot of heat, a lot of pressure being put on them. And that is why we are asking ourselves, are we going to go for a government project? Because the truth is that this whole Azimio thing has become a government project. We are seeing it's being funded by state money. We are seeing a lot of Ministry of Interior presence in their meetings. We are seeing a lot of state, you know, power, display of, you know, statecraft, the setting, the red carpet, the media influence and all that. And so, as I said earlier, not many people can resist such kind of temptation. But coming to your question on what formula we are going to use, I think we are going to look at the numbers. We are going to look at who can do what. And I think I had said this earlier, that scientifically we have to look at what numbers are we bringing on the table. Because we've said we want to do this thing round one, 70+1. 70+1. Said that even if people try to doubt, go to court and all that, they'll have no reason, they'll have no basis at all to go and contest our awaited victory. So I think it's a tough thing, Eugene. It's very tough. It's given, you know, as you said, the hardliners, there are people who really feel Musalia must be president. Yeah. There are those who really feel, oh my goodness, Ruto must be president. Yeah. Now we've come together. Yeah. How do you balance that? It's a very, very delicate art. Delicate art. I can tell you that.
Javas, I mean, as we close the conversation, I mean, what is your crystal ball telling you, for lack of a better word, in terms of the toughness that he speaks about? I know they're now having a lot of sleepless nights. These people, there are some who are seeing us as visitors over here, yet we are actually formidable partners in this. Those are things that I'm sure they are going through right now. In fact, they're being told somehow, probably sit there first, wait, you guys joined us. It's not us who joined you. There are those bragging rights now, who has swallowed the other. You know, there are a lot of all those dynamics. What's your crystal ball saying? Well, as we move towards the...
There is no tough bread, including the crust, before tea. Yeah. Once you take that and dip it in tea, yeah, the toughness ceases to exist.
Yeah. Who's the tea? Who's the toughness?
In politics, I can assure you, as we sit here, there is no one tough, because that metal, the standard stuff of this toughness, will be tested by the interests that have to bring them together and take them forward. It is an absence of wisdom to remain tough and lose it even before the main ceremony starts. Yeah. So, as ANC joins, for example, UDA and Ford Kenya, the toughness is only on paper, because they must come, think together, work together for their common interest, so that they can go for that which they want and win this thing. Otherwise, if they keep on being safe and happy within the musical chairs of toughness, then their opponents will sprint and get the thing. The same way as it must be within Azimio. Whether DAP Kenya joins Azimio as it has joined, and any other party, NAK Kenya or OKA, whatever, their toughness does not exist. Like I spoke of bread and tea, because the tea here, it's a question of the interest that brings them together. That is what melts them, melts everyone. Even if it were you, Eugene, you can be tough where you are, but the moment you join another party and come together, you must be harmonized by the common good and the interests that brought you together, and see how sacrifice, appreciation of the talents that bring you together can make each of you see that actually we do not have all of us to jostle for this thing.
Yeah.
I could step back a bit for the other because the chance now and the stars seem to be more aligned for this one than myself this moment.
Yeah.
Because if it's a question of just being on the ballot, I can assure you, everyone can be on the ballot.
I can be on the ballot.
And I saw, for example, the other day, some great gentleman beating his chest saying that I'm going to send Raila Odinga and William Ruto into political oblivion.
You're speaking about Kukubo.
Kukubo. And I said, what a man,
Yeah.
what a sentiment.
Yeah.
I have spoken.
You have spoken, Elder. But my question, just a follow-up to that, do you see that scenario that most people have been speculating about, where the deputy president says, you know what, Musalia Mudavadi tosha?
Well, I think
Will this be the winning formula?
it cannot be a winning formula because it must not be about the deputy president making that declaration or Musalia Mudavadi making that declaration. I think it will be a question of them being driven by common sense and appreciating that actually, if, and here speaking of the deputy president, is it actually imaginable that he can say Musalia tosha right now? Is it imaginable that Musalia can say Wetangula tosha right now? Here, what we know for a fact is that they must come alive to the realities that they face within that kind of coalition that they have.
Yeah.
That actually, it's not just about so-and-so being tosha. It's a question of saying who has got at least the appearance of the national goodwill to take this thing home.
Yeah.
Let us work with him and get this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
SG, I know it's going to be a tough one for you. You've just spoken about the task force that you'll be sitting in. It's going to be a very tough one. And I'd like you to speak to Kenyans tonight, those who probably have had this confusion of what's really going on here. Is our party leader now going to be deputizing the deputy president in this race? Is he still our candidate come August 9? I mean, what's really going on? And probably as you go into those negotiating, the war room, for lack of a better word, in finding an amicable, solution to what your ambitions are as a union, what would you want to tell Kenyans today?
Well, I think we all appreciate that our nation's economy is in tatters. People have lost jobs. COVID has not done it any better.
Yeah.
And this particular government, the Jubilee government, has not kept its promises. And so Kenyans would want to see a government that would come and breathe life into this economy and just get people moving around and about their lives comfortably. An economy that works for all of us. An economy where everybody is rewarded according to their input. And that is what we are looking at. And we want to form a government that will come and make sure that we have a truly functional economy that works for all of us. How that is going to be achieved is not a walk into the park, as I said.
Yeah.
And how we are going to arrange our lineup, again, is an issue that people should just be calm and wait and listen. And I think I would want to appeal to our viewers, our supporters out there, that we are fully in charge. We are doing everything possible to make sure that we deliver a winning ticket.
Yeah.
And I think that should be a parting shot for me.
That should be a parting shot, but I know Kenyans will ask me a lot of questions if I don't ask this follow-up question. You've mentioned that the Jubilee government has failed, and it's very practical to ask you, do you absolve the deputy president from that failure of the Jubilee government?
Well, I think having had a chance to interact with the DP at a very personal level, I have come to understand that he has not been part of the mess that we are seeing today. The mess came after the handshake.
Okay.
I don't need to say more.
You don't need to say
Why?
more. And I think this will be a conversation for another day. We will be able to hopefully have you here. We've promised each other, right? God willing, we'll be able to have another discourse to just discuss if there will be any shifts and interest change, and of course, to analyze the formations that would have come or taken shape. Elder Javas, thank you for coming through.
Thank you, sir.
Of course, ANC Secretary General, thank you for making time.
Thank you for having me.
Asante sana. And of course, for you, who's been actually with us from the time we started off this particular show, we want to say thank you. We are here every Monday, and of course, we are setting the pace to be able to have more conversations, at least on a weekly basis, and probably also on a daily basis, to be able to just understand the road to August 9th, and of course, the key things we need to keep talking about as a nation. I want to say thank you for being a part of the show. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.
The future of money is simple, like unlocking possibilities with a smile. And having the world in the palm of your hand.